Mareile Paley. I have very many different pronunciations
Yes.
depending on the country I am in. But now I'm in Portugal. I'm German originally, and still, I guess. Living in Portugal since 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say I still am a Pilates teacher, but I feel more like I used to be a Pilates teacher because
Okay.
then the actual teaching brought me into organizing retreats, which I've been doing for the last 10 years. And
Oh, wow,
in
10 years.
those retreats, I've ended up teaching less and less and
Hmm.
becoming more and more the host. And
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, me organizing Pilates retreats was really just a good excuse to learn from those teachers I wanted to learn from and not having to pay for it. So,
Yes. That's
um,
clever. Like it
yeah,
works.
yeah, it also brings you to really nice locations under
Mhm.
the excuse of a work trip. So
Yes.
this worked out perfectly for 10 years, but now I am starting to slow down with the traveling and settling more. And
Hmm.
so we came to Portugal to build a Pilates hotel, to build a
That's
boutique retreat
crazy.
venue that is going to be specialized in Pilates. So it's gonna have 3
Wow.
studios. It's gonna have a private studio and lots of It's the idea is kind of you want to go on a holiday, you want to go on a Pilates holiday,
Hmm.
but you might not want to join a group retreat, or you don't want to
Hmm.
do a mat retreat, or you have some special conditions that don't make you feel so comfortable joining a group, or the dates don't work. Everything that I've seen in the last
Yes.
10 years,
Right.
um, I wanted to create a place where you can come literally on a Pilates holiday on your own, stay as long as you like, meet some nice people, get some great instruction from Benjamin and any other great teachers out there. Maybe you can come and visit us. Same for Juan.
Sign me up. I'd be there in
Yes,
a heartbeat.
yes.
For those of you who are watching now and have questions, please put your questions in the comment section because, like me, I am so intrigued by this. Simply because I think everyone has this idea in the back of their head to do somehow, somewhere, and a lot of us just shelf it because we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we don't have the skill set, we don't have the capacity, or kids are too young. I mean, there's a million reasons why we wouldn't. So now you're doing it and you're here.
All these
So
reasons you just listed apply to me as well.
really,
I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I do have the kids, and I don't have the business background. But hey, with a little bit of belief and good fortune and just going out there, I'm on my way. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
good for you. I'm like, yeah, let's get it. Let's do this. Because so okay, then why? What's your
Ha,
why for jumping into
yes.
such a massive project?
Yes, and that why that has kept me busy for the last 2 years for sure because I have a pretty good life. I like my life. Our life is chilled and easy, and we don't have money worries. We don't have mortgages or debts. So why do I want to throw myself into the potential burnout pre-programmed? Right? Because on top of it, I have to say maybe we bought the land for it a year and a half ago, and the land is on a steep slope. It's steep
Mhm.
slope, and then it's opening up into this beautiful valley. So while the location is absolutely amazing, it's also one of those built sites where the architect looks at it and says, that's gonna be interesting. So
Mhm.
I also didn't make it easy in terms of the location. But so why? Then I thought, why am I doing this exactly? And I want to be sure that I do this for the right reasons. It's definitely not
Mhm.
for the business. I mean, it's not for the money or for is it for Pilates? Then I thought, do I really believe that the world needs a Pilates hotel? Can I change the world through Pilates? Um,
Mhm.
I believe in Pilates, but more than Pilates, I believe in movement. So
Yes.
does it need to be a Pilates hotel? Not really, but it became a Pilates hotel because that what makes sense from the business point of view. That's where the niche is.
Yes.
That's where our community sits, and that's where I
Hmm.
get all of everybody excited to create that space that doesn't exist yet. So that
Yes.
excites me, and um, and as the process was kind of advancing and diving in and out of the oh my god, are you completely insane, and yes I can do this, and you know what, now it used to be a
Right.
million, now it's 4 million euros, like what am I thinking, this is just mad.
Right.
um, Slowly it kind of dawned on me that why I'm doing this is exactly for that, is to create a sustainable business that
Hmm.
has an impact, that has an impact not just to us, to the Pilates community, but to the people that where we're building here in Portugal. So there's a social component to it, and then there's an environmental component. And I just really truly believe that we're in a time where we need to start thinking, not only thinking outside of the box, but also daring to just do something out of the box, and
Yes.
believing in the good, and believing in the good businesses, not the greenwashing, not the big corporations, but that feeling of wow, if we can all, is it possible? Is it possible for people like me, like people like you, to come up with out their ideas
Yes.
and actually do it and actually succeed, and then can this be
Wow.
this spillover effect, and that moment of luring each other in and being like yes, um,
Yes.
we live in this bubble. I live in
Hmm.
this organic, sustainable bubble of like-minded people that want to grow food forests and do organic gardening, and um, they all think this is great what I'm doing. They think it's great that we're homeschooling the kids and that we're growing our own vegetables and that I'm
Yes.
building a Pilates hotel.
Great.
But I want to reach the people that don't quite believe that this is a realistic option and show them that
Yes.
it is.
Amazing. I just wrote down the word dare to do something. Yes. Love,
Yeah,
love, love this. Like as like I dare to do something because we all have ideas and they're passing thoughts, but then we it doesn't get past that thought place. Or we get to a place where we talk ourselves out of it because it doesn't make sense. It's not rational. It's not responsible.
I think we're so we're conditioned to always be influenced by our surroundings, by what
Mhm.
everybody else is doing, by getting overwhelmed by the everyday little things that keep us from even like thinking big. And
Yes.
I think part of what um, enables me, I'm a big picture kind of person, and I think I'm a big picture person because of all the travels we did in our lives
Hmm.
with my husband together. And so we we well we met when we were 21, in Indonesia backpacking.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I'll try to make this 25 years really short, but it
Sure.
might give you
I
an
love
idea
relationship stories,
of
so go for it.
um, and then we studied in New York. We moved to New York. He's French.
Mhm.
We studied in New York, lived in New York 3 years, and then went to Pakistan. Ended up in Pakistan. That was pre 2001, so
Mhm.
Pakistan was actually a destination to go to for mountaineers and trekking. So we ended up living in the mountains of Pakistan for over a year, and then this started this whole backpacking cycle of exploring a lot of stands, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, traveling back to Europe, figuring out where we're going to live, and then we would work every year. We found work with NGOs in Pakistan in the mountains.
Mhm.
Um, And then September 11th came around, and we were in Pakistan at the time. Um, and I remember my first thought was, oh, my mom is going to be happy that I'm not in New York anymore, you
Mm,
know? And
yes.
then within those 24 hours, I was like, oh, shit, I'm in Pakistan. Maybe that's not so
That's
great
not so
either.
good either, right?
But at the same time, the Pakistan I know is so different, fundamentally different from what people imagine Pakistan to be. It's the most beautiful people I know,
Mm,
with the most open heart and the most hospitable, inviting nation that I've ever met. And
wow.
so, well, because of that, eventually we ended up settling in Hong Kong. Then we lived 9 years in Hong Kong. Then we moved to Turkey, lived 7 years in Turkey, and now we're in Portugal.
Yes.
But I wanted to talk about Pakistan because that experience of living in this country and being in the mountains, and sometimes, over the years also going back on treks and tours, this is my go-to place of big picture reality,
Hmm.
because it could be anywhere in nature, I guess.
Yes,
In Canada, you have amazing wilderness, and the
absolutely.
nature. It does that. It brings you to this zone of, oh my God, this is here right now also.
Hmm.
And none
Yes.
of the buzz and the craziness and the little seemingly important unimportances of life, you kind of trickle away, and you're like, oh, it's me and the mountains. And I know they're going to be there even when I'm all frazzled with COVID anxieties and this and that, and retreats not happening again because nobody wants to travel. And I can go back to this. And I think everybody has a place like this, probably in nature, where they
Yes.
can go to. And that's where I feel you can stop and breathe and be like, yeah, it's not everything. This
Hmm.
everyday stress is not everything. And that gives me the strength to just go out and do stuff, because it
I
all
hear you.
doesn't matter so much,
No, it's
in the
true.
end. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. Where do you have a place that you go to when you?
I do, and it's funny, like I'm a city kid. I'm born in Toronto, raised in Mississauga. Apart from going off to university, I've been in Mississauga my whole life. So now I feel, and I've been to places in the world. I've been to Czech Republic, I've been to Japan, I've been to Jamaica. So I've seen some of the world, but I still feel like there's such this big, huge world out there.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I have a real passion for my city right here. So for me to go down to the water, just to drive straight up to the waterfront and just stand there and just listen to the waves crash and look across the water at the CN Tower and Toronto across the water from Mississauga, that's my place.
Mhm.
So it's not way out remote in the woods, but there's still this sense of nature, like Nanette said there, like nature is medicine, this place of
Mhm.
being close to nature and getting away from distractions.
Yeah.
And what I hear and what you're saying too is the more we connect with that, the less excuses that we hear from the outside world. Like we're more still to hear what's important to us, what's passionate within us, as opposed to, the pulls from everyday life coming at us.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of connectedness that we have as humans, as a species, to nature innately, and it's just
Mhm.
we've kind of lost that, or get sparkled and frazzled by all the concrete around us. And but
Yep.
when we do step out in nature, it's very easy, to find that, yeah, that literal, that connection, to the earth, and and therefore to what matters. I agree.
Yes.
And I'm a big city girl. Initially, I'm from Munich, so, well, it's not that big, but big enough for a German
Hmm.
city.
Yes.
So I grew up in the inner city. I'm a totally urban girl, and then New York fitted our lifestyle
Yeah.
perfectly. And
Yes.
over the years, I've just become more and more de-urbanized,
De-urbanized.
to the point where now, like, yeah, I was was talking to Benjamin in Lisbon. I'm 30 minutes from Lisbon, so I could go easily, but I haven't been in like a year because there's nothing there. Well, plus COVID restrictions doesn't make it
Right.
very enticing to go to the city. Um, but I was there and I took public transport. I took the bus in and not the car, and I was like, oh my God, subways, underground. How do I get out? How do I buy a subway ticket? And just I felt like a total countryside girl lost in
Yeah.
the city.
Yes.
Um, and I had this. I actually had a few years ago. I had an epiphany in Barcelona. I did a stopover with my boys. They wanted to stop in Barcelona because there's lots of skate parks and cool things to do. So I
Yes.
said, sure, we'll stop for 2 days, see a friend. And I always like these stops in the cities, especially with kids. You feel like, they can go to the cinema, we can do the skate park, all these great things. Um, and I can go shopping and I can sit in a cafe and I can watch people stroll by and all this. And there was a moment where the boys were running in front of me to go down into the subway, and I was walking a little bit behind, and I saw them running down the concrete stairs, down into this concrete tunnel that is the subway entrance.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment of, what am I doing here? Why am I here with all this concrete? How did we end up building all this stuff? And it was for the first time that I was like, this is just insane. And I come from an architecture family, so I like buildings and I like architecture, but this was the insanity of it all just suddenly hit me, and I was like, there's nothing for me left in cities. I don't need an urban environment anymore. And that was it. And since then, yeah.
Do you feel then, like with what you're doing with your Pilates Hotel, that there's going to be a sense of a mission of bringing people who are so urbanized like myself to find that stillness? Because it's calling me, I have to say. It's totally calling.
I think that's the aim and the goal with any retreat, right? Even if it was an urban retreat in a city, the goal is to slow things down for a moment and to pause and to reflect and to maybe just have a good time and work out, do Pilates. We always let people go as deep or not as they want to go with this.
Yes.
But for sure, it gives you a time to reflect and yes, it's about the nature, but also my place is it's connected to the edge of the village. So you have a bit of urban environment, and I like that connection. I actually like people and my guests also on retreats to explore that, to find this. They can go out in the village and go in restaurants, local restaurants, get also a bit of the spirit of Portugal and the country they're in. And then you can retreat into your retreat, and then you can explore the gardens and the nature and go for a walk or a hike or a bicycle tour in real nature. I like operating, I think, in my life on the edges of things, whether it's between frontiers or being on the edge of Europe or being on the fringe of, these edges, fringes is what interests me.
Amazing.
And thank you for bringing that out, because I don't think I've ever vocalized it like that, and I just realized that about
Sounds pretty
myself.
Good to me.
That's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So where have you been doing the retreats before this? Well, you're still in the process of building. So where do you actually, before COVID, where were the retreats happening?
Pretty much all over. I've done 35 Pilates retreats in
35
different countries on 4 continents. So that was 10 years of happily retreat location scouting. I liked trying out new places, new venues, new
Sounds grueling.
teachers.
Yeah.
And but I now actually last year we had our 10-year retreat anniversary in Bali, and that was the last retreat that I did in February before COVID had started. But I remember talking about it in Bali, like, do you think this is something bad? Do you think this is gonna go somewhere? But yeah, it started just when we came back, and just before that retreat, I had contemplated stopping with all the retreats. I kind of felt, okay, I've done that for 10 years. The retreat industry has grown like mad. A little bit the excitement was out for me.
Like the novelty's kind of worn off.
Yeah, I didn't feel like finding new locations, checking out new venues, but so I thought, yeah, 10 years is a good moment to kind of call it quits while it's still good. But then I had that plan of building Calm. So logic told me you cannot just quit now and then reappear after a couple of years and be like, hey, no, I have a Pilates
surprise
retreat.
Right, yeah.
So on that retreat, I decided to streamline the Life and Movement retreats to 3 locations a year. So we have Bali in February, we have Portugal in May, and we have Greece in September, October. And I'm actually building this team of these 3 teams of 6 teachers. So I always have 2 teachers teaching together, and then they will circle through the different locations.
Okay.
So, because I just needed to, for my business, also to make it a bit more focused.
Like tight and have a good core.
Yes, because there was so much experimenting around it that sometimes, every retreat is different, every retreat group is different, and some retreats end up being very quiet and very harmonious and very inner, soul-finding, soft experiences, and then I had other retreats that are full-on action and sightseeing and drinking and having fun, depending on the group and the location. And I have quite a few return participants that have come back over the years and again, and some of them really managed to pick the ones that could not be more different from one another.
Yes.
So, and I realized that this can become a really confusing concept because on one hand, let's say they had a beautiful first retreat in Greece with just a few participants.
And it's serene and quiet.
Little island, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna sign up again. Oh, she has these different locations. Oh, Morocco sounds great. So she signs up for Morocco retreat, which is suddenly you have
like spring break,
African partygoers and a couple of other people, and it's all about shopping and going out, and it's loud and it's action.
Yes.
Like, I don't know where I am and what's going on. So I'm trying to take that into account, and I think I can also allow myself now to, like almost say to people that are interested, that I know a little bit or that ask questions, I think that retreat is maybe not the ideal one for you. What are you looking for? And then have these 3 very distinctively different retreats in character, but always focused on Pilates. And then, so we have one Pilates in yoga, one Pilates and Pilates. Hello, Benjamin. I don't know if he's still there. Yeah, he's gonna run one of those retreats.
So this is like a planned recruitment for Benjamin to be like on staff and running your hotel in like 5 years, sort of thing, or?
Yeah, let's see. It's not my plan, but I mean, it wasn't hatched by me, that plan. But our common friend Heather from Hong Kong.
Oh, I'm listening.
She's the one that brought us together, actually. Yeah, it's good. Listen.
Yes. So now we were talking earlier, and and when I always ask people like, what is their message for the people? And you said like how, like that quote, like how bad do you want it? Do you want it more than you fear?
Decide that you want it more than you're afraid of it.
Yes. Can you say it one more
I
time,
found
please?
that quote. Decide that you want it more than you're afraid of it.
Yes.
It's a quote from Bill Crosby actually, and I came across it years and like decades ago actually,
Mm-hmm.
and it spoke to me at the time. I thought it was a really great quote that decide that you want it more than you're afraid of it. It's such a proactive. Yes, I can do that. I can decide that.
Yes.
Um, and I wrote it on a little piece of paper on a sticky note. And I actually still have it in my wallet. You know, I carry it around with me, and
Yeah.
it never failed me, that quote. I think, yeah, when you said that, because I'm usually not a quote kind of person, I was like, what's my message? What's my mission?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll probably talk for hours about it.
But the reason why I say that though is that you have that quote, and it's not just like something you write on your wall. It's almost like it is written on your heart because you live it out. So you may not preach it. You may not open like a Pilates class by saying, okay, everybody, this is our quote for today. But when it comes down to decision making, when it comes down to daring to do something, I'm sure you circle back to that philosophy, right?
Yeah, and it's very innate for me. Like I say,
Mm-hmm.
it's you know, when you're young and 20 and you're a European that goes to study graphic design in New York, that wasn't something daring to do. That was just something really cool and fun to do.
Yes.
And I think that set the tone for me. The the innate need to dare was always
Mm-hmm.
there, and I did see it neither as a dare nor as something fear based. And it was something that didn't even occur to me. It was very
Okay.
much in my nature, so it becomes very easy to do all these things because that's what I wanted to do. I feel like that's what I'm born to do. Um,
Yeah.
you know, when we would travel on these crazy trips or, you know, hike through the mountains or even take our kids to Pakistan, this is the question that comes up from people. Aren't you worried about? Aren't you
Yes. I'm
afraid
just scared
that?
about this.
What
Yeah.
about if somebody gets sick? What about this and that, from terrorist attacks to, you know, illnesses? And I always realize that this is not never on the forefront of my thinking.
Right.
This is not something that comes up.
Because you want it more than you're afraid.
I guess. Yes. Yeah, I just want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think everyone's wired with that sense of having something in them that they dare to do? And some people just like muzzle that voice down and other people live it out? Or do you feel like some people just don't have it at all? Like in a bit bold way?
I think some people are more anxious than others. And the question is more, where does this anxiety come from? Is that your nature? Is that your true nature? Or
Mm-hmm.
did that start somewhere? Or did that start through a trauma or through an event in your life? And I think if the anxiety is not innate, then anybody can work on it and you
Mm-hmm.
can overcome that. For some people, it's easier than for others, but you know, and everybody has their innate natural things. Like for me, it would be much more of a fear to overcome to, let's say, to go on an organized group holiday where I know that that would be me to like say, okay, I really have to work on that.
Yes.
Um, uh, the adventure is not for everybody. That's not the goal here, right? Not
Right, right.
everybody needs to be daring and do extraordinary things. You can also be daring and just do what you feel really passionate about in your own community. Or
Mm-hmm.
people get blindsided and smitten by the glamorous, adventurous life and the out of the box lifestyle that somebody
Yes.
actually does. And it's like, oh, I wish I could. And
Mm-hmm.
know who you are and know what you really want, because not
Yes.
everybody actually wants to do this kind of things, and then own it and stand up for it. And um, you know parents traveling with children is a really good example. There's this like,
Yes.
oh, we cannot go on these trips anymore because now we have the kids.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if we can go on a holiday to Morocco because the kids. And it's not the kids. The children don't care where the parents bring them.
Right.
You have to go as a parent where you want to go on holiday and where you feel comfortable.
You're striking some nerves there.
And then you take your kids along and everything is going to be fine. If you don't actually really want to go camping, don't use the kids as an excuse. Don't go to a 5-star hotel and chill out by the pool.
Right.
Yeah, you have to dare to stand up to who you are and
Ouch.
not feel like you have to fill that role of an adventurer.
Dare to stand up to who you are.
Yeah.
Yes, because I hear what you're saying and it's like, okay, well, that's courageous. That is bold. That is brave to say, I'm going to open a Pilates hotel and it's going to cost me X amount of $1 million to do it. If I don't have that level of adventure and that level of courage to do that, I'm not living boldly, so to speak, right? So that's the mindset that we need to challenge, right? Like, because that's your adventure.
Yes, and we have the only thing that counts really is to find the truth within yourself. Because if you truthfully know yourself and you said, I'm cut out to be a routine person, a follower, I'm the worker bee type of person, that's where I find myself, that's where I feel comfortable, then you are as important as the person who builds the Pilates hotel. Because if everybody would build Pilates hotels, well, where would we be, right? In a mess. So,
right. Yes. That's amazing.
Everybody plays their role, and we just have to figure out what is the role. There is so much, with all the lifestyle coaching and the business coaching and there's this huge movement I find where you almost, especially women, we feel pressured. Like now we need to be this extraordinary six-figure entrepreneurs.
Overachiever.
Leave everything else and maybe best juggle family and business and everything and have our Instagram social media presence. And it's just more glamorous to promote that than to promote the person who is. I have a friend. He's a guy. He's a yoga teacher. Mm-hmm. He decided to become a yoga teacher, and he lives in a small village in France with his family, and it's a very small town type of life. He used to be a big surfer and adventurer and go backpacking and all that. Now he's home, he has his little house, he has his kids that go to the little school, he has his wife that works in the hospital, and he has his yoga studio. And he is so settled with that life. It's inspiring. He does not feel that need that I feel. I have to do something big, I have to do something extraordinary. He says, this is exactly what I want. Yes. I don't want stress. I don't want complication. Mm-hmm. I don't want to start a franchise of yoga studios. I'm happy with my clients.
Yes.
And that's really cool too. I envy that.
It is cool too. Yes.
No, that's wait a couple of years until I run my Pilates hotel. I'll be like, I just want to
Be in a
farming
remote town.
vegetables and just,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's it. And the word I was talking yesterday with Kevin, and he was saying how he had opportunities when he's working for big box gyms to be a manager, and then you move up the ladder, or work for a studio and become a master trainer, and then you have a big studio. And there's all these steps and all these things that the society tells us that we need to keep climbing this ladder.
Mm.
But he loves his people. He loves what he's doing. He loves supporting some of his colleagues who have studios and going in and just cheering them on. And so he's found this place where he can work at 3 studios. He could have his online clientele and just has great relationships and people and make a difference in people's lives.
Mhm.
I was talking with a friend of mine about my conversation with him, and she said, "So he's fulfilled." And I was like, "That's what I was looking for." Like we need to chase after and find that place of fulfillment for us. So in you getting your Pilates hotel, that's scary, enormous stress levels for someone who that's not their calling and that's not the thing
Yeah.
that would find them fulfillment. For that guy living in the middle of nowhere teaching yoga classes, that creates anxiety for me because I'm thinking there's not enough people around and I need more
Mhm.
city people. I need more hustle and bustle. I need to meet new people every day. And so that might not be what fulfills me. So where do we find that place of fulfillment in what is within us, right? So
Yeah, and when most of all, when do we really truly know that this is our fulfillment? Because I think that takes the biggest guts to stand up in today's society of faster, more popular, more following, more this and that, um, to say I am where I need to be, and I'm gonna
yes.
remain here for now. Um, because you will always have that friend, that person
Mhm.
talking at you, saying, "Oh, but you could be doing so much more, and why don't you this, and why don't you that?" And you have your family, and that really takes guts
It
because
does.
that fine line between being content, are you content or
Hmm.
are you procrastinating? That question that
Yes.
yeah, am I happy or is that just my lame excuse for not wanting to achieve more? It's super difficult to figure that out.
That lame excuse. It's true. It is totally true. I'm just laughing because I bounce between those two all the time. Like, is this comfort an excuse to do nothing, or is this where I'm supposed to be right now?
Yeah, but I think we have to allow ourselves, I think we have to fight a little bit for the permission to take on some of that complacency, and for a while at least, until you give yourself the time to figure out whether you just needed a pause, whether you just enjoyed the kind of routine of it, or whether this is where you're truly fulfilled.
Yes.
Society doesn't allow us much of that. And like, for example, my husband's family, that's like not even an option. It's
Mm.
not an option in even thought process to ever say, I'm happy. I'm
Yes.
happy with how it is. No, there
Hmm.
always needs to be, if you
More.
just say you're happy, then you're obviously lazy or you've given up or because there's always more and more and more and more and one more thing and you could and you should. Um, this is great as long as I have the energy for this right now because I'm excited and passionate about it.
Yes.
Um, but I don't want to go into overdrive with this. I don't want to get
Hmm.
caught in a wheel where I feel like now I have to, and now I have all these people to satisfy,
Right. That's a
and
dangerous place.
yeah.
It
So
is.
I think there's something really admirable about um, people that know when to stop and know
Hmm.
that they're happy with it's about being humble,
Yeah.
and I think that's always something. It's a
Yes.
huge thing to strive for. um,
Absolutely. Well
yeah.
said. Really well said. How did you find Pilates? in the midst of all
It
these things
was
you're doing?
love at first sight.
What's
It was. um, I was um, I was in Hong Kong, 2004, I think, and my gym had a flyer ad of somebody doing some acrobatics on a reformer, and I was like,
mm,
ooh, that looks interesting. I wonder what that is. I'd never heard of Pilates or seen it before. Um, Actually, it's not true. A friend of me who had back problems always talked about Pilates, and when I read it, I was convinced she pronounced it wrong and that it should be pilots. Um,
yes, that
um,
could be.
and then I was just curious about these Pilates things, and then I realized it was really expensive.
Mm.
Um, and then it was a birthday gift from my mother-in-law to do an intro package at this
The
studio,
gift of Pilates, yes.
and I had my very first class ever with Tash Bernard, who has now taught 8 of my retreats. She's from South Africa, Basi
Oh wow.
Pilates.
Yes.
She gave me the first private session, and I was in love. It was like the movement, the form of movement that my body wanted and needed. I just felt like this was the perfect mix of being physical and stretchy, and then I started. Yeah, then I did this religious Pilates practice of once a week, lunch hour, rushing in from my job as an art director into the studio, and I did everything, props and balls, and
Mm.
the more athletic, the better.
Yes.
Um, and then I became pregnant, and then I continued, and I just saw what it did to my body and how strong I had become. I'm not a cardio person. I hate jogging. I hate sweating. I can't stand it.
Mm.
I actually don't like effort. I like things easy. so, so
It's
with
good to know that.
Pilates, I always felt like there was a little bit of effort, like a little bit of abs, but then you can stretch again.
Right.
So um, yeah, it just worked perfectly for me. And then I had my first kid, and throughout pregnancy and all that, it just was a really good method. And then
Hmm.
I came out of breastfeeding and the first 6 months of having baby, and I thought, oh, I can go back to Pilates now. And my Pilates studio in Hong Kong had closed down and didn't exist anymore. And I was like, oh no, this is
Oh.
terrible news. And so I started looking, and in my research, I found Pilates teacher training. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe I could do Pilates teacher training. Then I don't have to pay for all these expensive classes anymore.
Right. Yes.
And that started the journey of the Pilates teacher.
Just looking for a workaround for classes.
Always, yeah, easy way out.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. And that's how it is for so many of us, right? You just discover it's like, where have you been my whole life? Like this is exactly
Yeah,
what my body needed.
yeah. Yeah, what about, I think I'm the only person that I know, one of very few people that I know that didn't come to Pilates because of either an injury or a dance background or something along those lines.
Right, right.
I don't know, how did you come to Pilates?
Through an injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I was playing sports and I had gone to a chiropractor for my back many times. And at the same time, I had a friend who was teaching like a group Pilates class at the gym. And the more I was going to that Pilates class, the less often I had to go to the chiro.
Okay.
So I was
Yeah.
recognizing that there's this connection like that once, 3 times a week. Chiro was like twice a week, then once a week, then every other week.
Yeah.
So then I took a special interest type, teacher training Pilates class then, not thinking I was ever teach it because it was very like sing-songy, dancey type Pilates, right? But like it felt good in my body. And then maybe about 10 years later, I had an opportunity to do my peak Pilates like full certification, and did that, and then dove deeper into there after taking it with some other people and just recognizing the value of it for my body. And then just in the last couple of years, I did another apprenticeship. So I've just been diving deeper and deeper into the work and understanding the classical work and I was really drawn in with some of the contemporary stuff and being challenged as an athlete when Pilates, really kicked my butt. And I was like, okay, I want to own this because it really owned me today, sort of thing, right? So I felt that challenge. I've just been trying to dive deeper in it and learn as much as I can from, the conversation I'm having with some from amazing, fantastic teachers out there in the world. So just continuing to learn every day and just get better at it, getting better at it, getting sharper with my cues and with teaching and just understanding bodies and all that stuff. So it's just this continual journey.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's I I was always freelancing because I always lived away from a studio. I always had, because at that time already in Hong Kong I lived in a small village outside of the city, so I always had to commute to find the Pilates studio. And I think that's maybe another pattern of starting something, learning something, whether it's Pilates or studying graphic design in New York, or wanting to build a Pilates center, or wanting to do retreats. I always manage to somehow find myself in a situation where I cannot do it in the normal, regular, mainstream way. Like, I'm a graphic designer fresh out of New York, and I find myself in the mountains of Pakistan. So then
that's the career path.
Yeah, then you finally become a freelance graphic designer, for NGOs. And the same with Pilates. Then I couldn't do my apprenticeship really in the studio, or very little. So I became really, really good at teaching the mat because I didn't have equipment. And through that confidence in teaching the mat, it was a very easy step to then also do mat-based retreats. And so, it's I like to go with the flow, I guess.
Yes.
As I get older, I plan more. Now I'm planning big times. It's 2 years. It's kind of scary. I feel like the real me is finally coming out.
That's too funny. So when is this hotel expected to be like, what's the process? Where are you at, and when is it expected to open approximately?
Yeah, it's a good and tricky question.
Yes.
So we got the pre-approval for building it. In Portugal, everything is extremely slow in terms of permits and building, and I'm literally building from scratch. There's nothing on the land. An architectural masterpiece. And
or nightmare, depending on who you are.
Yeah, at the moment I'm still with masterpiece. I think the nightmare is certainly gonna catch up, but so we got pre-approval. So in theory, I would say in an ideal world, I would now go on with the licensing and finding the contractors and getting it all going, and in that process also find the 4 million euros that I need to actually build it. So then if all that materializes, then we could open in 2024, like summer, fall. In a more realistic scenario, I'm giving myself this whole year to really work on the funding and the financing, and I'm really starting to be fully in it. And I'm also redesigning the whole architecture. Even though the one that we have now is amazing, but we're kind of trying to find version B that uses more sustainable also construction and building techniques. That has a smaller footprint on the actual land, that integrates more with nature. So that slows down the timeline, but at the same time, it buys me time to work on the funding. And something really amazing is happening at the moment, actually. 2 weeks ago, I got a first, I'd say semi-serious proposal from a big company that wanted to partner up in this project with me. And that
Amazing.
was, it wasn't the money on the table yet, but, and
Hmm.
we've met once, we haven't sorted
Yeah,
out all
so
the
you're
issues,
not there yet. Yeah.
but suddenly there was somebody who has money and business salve that says, yours is a good project, we would like to invest with you.
Wow.
And while this is great, it was also like, oh, what does that mean? Like,
Hmm.
where am I? Yeah, what do I want with this thing? And in the very early stages, when the whole project wasn't 4 million, but just 1 million, just 1 million,
Right.
I had
So,
this, I had this idea of, and this is how I word it on my website too, of let's build a Pilates hotel um, for the Pilates community by the Pilates community. And it
yes.
was this dream of, can we actually do it all together? Kind of, I was thinking crowdfunding, but I was thinking also, like in more elaborate version of crowdfunding where people actually become investors or
Yes.
invest in stakes of the business. And then, of course, other things took over and it became much more serious. And I was like, I need to get a bank loan and grants and this stuff.
Yes.
And with this offer from the company, parallel to that, suddenly I had people contacting me that I know from the Pilates industry that were friends that said, hey, can we invest in Calm?
Mm.
Is there like an option to invest? And these are people who I know they don't have millions to bring in. So I'm like, yeah, but it needs to be a certain amount before. And
Yes.
now I'm suddenly going through this. It's almost like I open up this door of saying, hey, why
Yes.
not?
As a
Maybe there
collective.
is enough people out there that have some funds that are not,
Hmm.
I cannot make it work with everybody chipping in 2,000 euros. That's going to be a lot of people and a lot of admin work.
Yes.
But, um, and it's starting to happen. I almost every day I'm having a chat with somebody who either says, this, I want to invest in a good business, I love
Hmm.
Pilates, and this is something that I could consider,
Yes.
or somebody who says, I don't have money, but I want to help out. Can I spread the word? I know some
Hmm.
people who have money. So suddenly I feel this like, wow, could that actually happen? Could that
Yes.
actually? I mean, that would just be insane. But at the same time, it fits in fully into the philosophy of building it and of building a sustainable business by somebody who doesn't have bring in the expertise and the background and the business connections.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm
This
in
looks
a good
so
space
exciting.
these days,
Yeah.
feeling a little bit like, hey, if the word can be spread, there seems to be people out there that all say yes, yes, yes. This and
Yes. I'm sure even people watching are like, yes. Right. So,
yes.
yes.
So you don't need to be a millionaire anymore to
Yeah.
invest.
Right. You just need to dare
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do
It's
what
a
you're
little
called to
bit
do.
that yeah, and I actually think that whole pandemic helped me with that
Hmm.
because people now want to actually do something meaningful.
Yes.
Um, and they're like, okay, I had some time to reflect on what actually matters. And of course, um, a health focused Pilates wellness hotel that has a sustainable angle and is in a nature park. I mean, there's like gazillion tick boxes
Check,
you can
check,
tick
check,
in.
check,
Like,
check.
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, so for that, I was maybe I'm lucky to just do this at the right time.
I was just gonna say, you sound like you're in the right place at the right time for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
and wow,
well, we are like we've talked for over an hour. We're at 11:05. That is
that was
crazy.
so much fun. That was really great.
I'm so glad we got a chance to meet. I'm so excited for your project. Like that is so inspiring. Like I'd love to find out more about this and just cheer you on. So,
Yeah, please help share it. That's
mhm.
really my most important mission right now to share,
Yes.
share, share, because it's the community that I need, not only to help promote it, help you know, find the right people to fund it, but then also, of course, to come once it's open. And
Yeah.
how cool is it to be able to be part of this and to see
Oh,
it develop and grow
yes.
and feel like, yeah, I'm following.
I'm sure Nanette to Esprit applies Louisiana. She's been watching it, and everything you said has really resonated with her just from hearing that voice and just daring to do it, all those things. I wouldn't be surprised if like we're having this conversation in 2021 and one day we're teaching at your Pilates
Yes,
hotel.
please.
That'd
Yes,
be so
please.
fantastic.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Then we
awesome.
can then we can go back and be like, remember when we had that Instagram live?
I know it. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be so
Yeah.
good. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you, Roxy, for setting this up.
Yes. Yeah. She's
This
so
is
awesome. She set me up with so many guests. Like she's like, oh, you need to talk to this person. Oh, you need to talk to this person. Oh, you need to.
yeah, she's very passionate. I
Yeah,
love her.
absolutely. All right. I will send you the replay of this later. Thank you so much. And you'll see the comments. Like, please put like your information in the comments when it pops up. And
Yes.
yeah, so we can just follow along with this journey for you. So
Yeah, that would be cool.
awesome.
So,
All right. Thank you
okay.
to everybody as well who's
Thanks
commented
for
and is
having
joining
me.
us. All right. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.